Welcome back to the More Than Logic podcast, where we connect you with entrepreneurs of all different levels to help you learn, grow, and build your best life. Today, I'm sitting with the man himself. If you've ever gone to MTC, the bank, if you're watching from Namibia, you know when you go and stand in a line to get your tickets to help you, I don't know.
Queue.
Yeah, stand in a queue and have a better position, to manage the queue systems much better. And you've wondered, where did this come from? Or maybe you've bought airtime at the service stations, at the supermarkets, and wondered, where the hell did this come from? Today, I'm sitting with the man himself, Wilko Ashenborn.
How's it?
Good, how's it?
Good.
Yes, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. If people ask you, how would you describe yourself? Yeah.
I think what worked for me is like with business as well, is the shorter the better, right? So I formulated these three words for myself. It's to innovate, to create, and to inspire.
Yeah.
Those are the three words that touch me, that fuel me or feed me with energy, and those are the things that I love doing.
Yeah.
So every business or everything that I do is typically around one of those three things or all three together.
All three together. So that's you. Innovation.
That's it.
Inspiration and
Creation.
creation.
Yeah, I
Lovely.
love to create stuff.
Yeah.
I love to innovate it first, then create it, and then to inspire as well.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of part of it, is that if somebody sees that this has been built in Namibia locally, that was part of our story, you could plant a seed of inspiration that they know, hey, I don't need to go to America or to South Africa.
Yeah.
Well, I can build something like this as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's about.
That's nice. That's lovely. I'm sitting here with a list of all the things you've started. We've got In Touch,
Yeah.
Buddy Industries, vending units, queue management solutions, Tap Das. That's
Yeah.
German, eh?
Yeah, Tap Das.
Rescue Me. And now you're doing real estate as well, kind of.
Perfect Stay Holiday Rentals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I-
Namibia was also part of one of my things.
Yeah.
It was a very big directory service.
Yeah.
My.na.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's lovely. And which of these projects, of all these projects you've started, which one is closest to your heart?
The closest, I think, always the late. So In Touch was a very, very big part of my life. I loved it. We specialized in media. And digital media, as we called it, which was software development, but it was also digital signage and queuing, which was those things you see inside MTC, in the banks, etc. But behind it was software. So the love for what we did is around software, and that's carried itself through to all of the projects that I'm involved in. There's always or multiple levels of some kind of software architecture or development that's in it.
Yeah.
If it's not there anymore, then I get bored. Then I need to have something else. Yeah.
You were saying, if you are not having fun, you get bored easily about businesses. So what has been one of the biggest challenges you face starting in entrepreneurship?
I think the starting is easy for me. I love it. But it takes a lot of effort and a lot of dedication. But that's, for me, is the fun part. It's always the startup. So I love to start something, to innovate something, to create something. But the moment it becomes mundane, so the moment it's about maintaining, then I become, like I said, more bored. But I've learned that then I employ the right people that obviously maintain the business.
Yeah.
And I typically start up something new. So the most difficult one so far has definitely been Buddy. So Buddy's been a journey.
Yeah.
But we're very proud. I mean, we're the only super app in Namibia. We've been approved by the Bank of Namibia as a PISP, which is a payment intermediary services provider. We don't belong to a bank, which is kind of unique because PayPal and PayToday and the competition all are owned majority by the bank.
Yeah.
So we've done this as Namibians purely for Namibians, whereas the others are all sort of supported and owned by banks, and those banks aren't Namibian.
Yeah.
They South African or.
Yeah.
So I would say the only real Namibian platform. And we're the only platform that does as much as what we do, is where you can have takeout and you can pay somebody, and we've got a gateway service for lodges. So we've combined many functions and features together, which Namibia is still growing into. You know, you'll see in the Western world, in the Eastern world, like China, WeChat, and even WhatsApp Pay in India, etc. They've all evolved to super apps, right? Where it's not just about one function anymore; it's about multiple functions. Namibia is still kind of growing into that space. You know, so that's been a difficult one because adoption is a big thing with software, and Namibians haven't always adopted tech as quickly as the rest of the world. But it's happened since COVID. I think it's been exponential, which is great, obviously, for us as well. And you can just see there's more and more people trusting tech, because up until then, nobody would trust to pay online. They would be scared to put their card into a website, you know, because there wasn't opportunity to do it. So we are, call it pioneering that space. And as a pioneer, you have to first dig the groove. So people behind us will now have it easier. I think the journey will be easier, bringing to life software related products, specifically in the payment space, because people have been accustomed to it. They now trust it.
No, that's lovely. So the whole idea behind Buddy Industries, which I still haven't grasped, please help me.
Sure.
I'm gonna say this with my own words. So with Buddy Industries, or with the Buddy app, you can pay to use services, which is maybe you're traveling to buy things from restaurants and so forth. And on the other hand, it's basically a cashless system, almost like cryptocurrency.
No. So Buddy's two words are rewarding transactions. And so a transaction in the modern world is a multifold of things. It's not just currency, although that forms a big part of a transaction. It's loyalty, it's rewards, but it's also information. So Buddy, as the brand, the friend, was launched and built around, you know, putting something in somebody's hand and being accessible to them as a friend. Okay. And a friend in the modern way of in this digital world. So allowing this person to buy food online, yes, and have it delivered to your home. Allow the person to facilitate a payment using his phone. So making it more convenient than using your credit card or cash. But at the same time, when you pay, getting a reward back. And the reward comes in the form of a game, so gamification, or it comes in the form of our loyalty points are called smiles. So you get cashback points every time you use Buddy. And so the other big part of it is VAS, which is value added services, which is in the normal traditional word, airtime, electricity, betting. So any type of digital product that is needed almost on a daily basis, you can get through Buddy. And you don't need to go to the shop to buy airtime. You can use your phone. The cool thing with Buddy, again, is we're the only platform that rewards you when you do buy airtime or when you do buy food. You know, you always give you something back. So that's underlying us. But what people don't know is we can also do, there's a little chat feature on, so you can ask us for, you would like us to book accommodation for you at the coast, or find a great deal on tires, or you're looking for a TV. So we'll actually respond to you and give you that information and find the best deal for you.
Interesting. How long have you been doing business and entrepreneurship now?
So I am 43 years old. So what is that? I started working when I was 14.
At 14? Yeah, crazy.
It was my first business. I started when I was 14.
What were you doing?
I started an advertising company called Idea Advertising.
At 14?
Yeah.
Wait. Is that the one where you were putting like mats?
Yeah,
and
exactly that. You heard my podcast.
I remember.
I loved it.
When you're putting mats and helping businesses advertise themselves.
At Joe's Beer House.
Yeah. But that's actually that could still work in these days, no?
It could. It's a good idea for whoever's out there. Go get placemats. Every restaurant is typically using them and put ads on the placemats, you know, especially a big restaurant like Joe's Beer House or, you know, which other bigger restaurants there are. People would love to be, because that's captive. You know, advertising is like how many eyes do you have on the product? And I mean, the eyes will definitely be on that placement.
Yeah. And how well did that go?
It didn't, because it went very well. I actually sold all the ads, all of them.
Yeah.
Quickly.
How much did you make?
And in those days, it was still checks.
Yeah.
So people gave me checks.
Yeah.
But I never went to cash the checks. I was too scared. So I started it, but I never finished it, right? Because I was too scared that I would fail.
Yeah.
Then I ended up working at Joe's. So I worked there for many years behind the bar. So I learned a lot about my business. I learned from being a barman and a waiter, because I learned how to work with people, how to serve people. Even today, I love serving or pleasing people. It's part of that part in my life. And also be disciplined. You know, my friends all went partying on weekends and had fun, and I had to go work.
Yeah.
But I loved it because it taught me to have discipline, and I was the only guy with money then in school.
Nice.
I had the first phone, and I bought it myself, you know. It wasn't my dad or somebody that gave it to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. And going on from there onwards, so you then worked, and would you say your childhood was pretty challenging, or?
Not really, other than my mom passed away when I was very young, so 11. That was challenging, working through that. But again, it was part of my growth. It helped me to stand on my own feet, to rely on myself. My stepmom wasn't the best mother figure, but I learned from her as well. So bless her as well. You know, she what I learned from her, I wouldn't have learned from my mom or having my mom. You know, so it was good.
So I was reading on something, and it said a lot of the times with entrepreneurs, they have this like force pushing them, right? Would you say? And sometimes it's like a lot of them always have this one person that they can always relate or remember when they think of someone that gave them a lot of love during their life. Who would you mention now?
Definitely my dad.
Definitely your dad.
My dad was awesome. But my dad wasn't great at business. So I think that was my inspiration to really be great at it. Because he was such a he was the kindest person I knew, but not in business. and I think I even said that on the show with Money, is the first book I ever read, that I actually read after, not even, that was in school, was that Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that inspired me to read, like, even now I'm like reading like crazy. But that book there was the Rich Dad and then the Poor Dad. And that inspired me, you know, to see like, because the Rich Dad Poor Dad story goes, you need to have a business that's working for you. So it was always around earning passive income. So not working in your business, because then you're just working as an employee, even if you're the boss. But if you have a business that's working for you, and that's the idea with Buddy, Perfect Stay, all these businesses, is you don't have to be in it the whole time. So if somebody's buying airtime tonight, you know, I'm not doing the airtime selling. The software is, you know, I've built it once and I've invested, but so that's a passive business. Properties, when you earn rental income every month, that's a passive business. So that means you can move to the next business, and your business is sort of feeding you, you know, it's earning you money. So I think the earlier you can start with a passive business, the better. So buying your first property or renting out your car, these days everybody's renting out their cars to tourists, you know, or doing podcasts and then selling not the podcast, the video blog or whatever, selling that online on Udemy. We just spoke about that. Or what was the easiest thing is like just a ebook. That is one of the most basic things, is write a little book, put it online and see if it sells. But if it sells, you're earning money and you've only written one book. You know what I'm saying?
Have you written a book yet?
No.
Would you want to write one?
Not at this stage.
Not at this stage. No. Why is that?
I'm not so much the writer. I'd rather do a podcast, you know, a proper one, or like break it up into a story. Not so much a book person. Although I love reading, I don't like writing.
Okay.
Weird.
Interesting. Have you ever been broke?
Broke.
Yeah. Like lost everything business-wise.
Yeah. So when I sold InTouch, I sold it for a good price, and I actually went through it was a very challenging time in my life. My wife had 2 children. Well, we had 2 children. But she was living away. She was living at the coast. I was here. I'd sold the business, and I was kind of going through like almost like a crash. You know, I'd burned out, and I didn't finish the period. So I sold the company, and I had a period of 3 years to stay on with the company. So I only stayed on for 2 years. I couldn't finish the 3rd year. I was crashed. And in the 3rd year, I would have been paid out a big sum, which I didn't get. And so then I literally quit my job, because I was the CEO of the company, but I'd sold a big part of the company to the newspapers. And then I quit my job day to the next, and I didn't have an income. So that put me in quite a difficult position. And then when I started building Buddy, I put all my money into Buddy and into the hotel or the B&B that we bought at the stage. So for a long time, it was a rough time. You know, I had a big house and cars on the sea. I sold the big house. I sold the cars. I remember even one story that still angered me is we had employees at Buddy and we didn't have money, and it was month end, and I had to sell my camping trailer, which I then sold, which was very close to me, to just pay salaries. So for many months, it was like literally month to month to month that you don't have money by the end of the month, but your employees you must pay. So for a long time while I was building Buddy, because we didn't have the banks and we didn't have big investors, it was our own used money, you know, and our own capital that kept us, you know, that we put into the business. For a long time, it was very difficult and very challenging. But I learned a lot about myself there, you know, a lot of resilience. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need to have resilience, that pull through, push through, even when it's difficult, you know. A lot of people give up too quickly. But if you get through that, that's kind of what happened with Buddy as well, is like we pushed through and pushed through and pushed through. No other platform, other people would have given up a long time and said, hey, we said, no, we're going. And, you know, that then pays off in the end. It's like not just for the business, but for you personally. You know, it's like an achievement. You've overcome something. You've had to find that the amount of times I went on my knees praying, you have to find that source of inspiration inside, but also ask, you know, for guidance and for help, which then does come unexpectedly, which is the beauty sometimes. But I had to be in that difficult position before I asked, you know, before I went onto my knees. But
So you're a religious guy as well.
I don't like using the word religious, but very spiritual. So
Okay,
I definitely believe we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yeah, that's great. That's interesting to hear. And I think, would you say so? Do you go to church all that often?
Not church. So again, I think religion sometimes is too squared. I think it served a strong purpose, and it does for many. And I find a lot of religions very beautiful. Like Buddhism for me is such a beautiful religion. If you've ever been to Thailand or met Buddhist people, they're the most kindest, beautiful beings. They don't hurt anybody, nothing. Even Christianity is such a beautiful teaching. I just feel sometimes the moment you start teaching with fear, you know, and a lot of religions unfortunately do that. They bring fear in to control. I don't like that part of it. No. So I like lots of like even the Muslim tradition. I was so against it at one stage, but that was just dogma. I didn't understand it. And then I was watching this movie, Etragul, on Netflix or wherever. It's a weird movie. But it had this Muslim religion in it, right? A lot of it. And I loved it. I loved the things they stood for. So I think it's a combination of, and I don't go to church on Sundays. Like for me, it's like a regular thing. I meditate every day. I connect with God every day. You know, I make a point of it. And I think that's more important for me than to go to church once a week and, you know.
Yeah, I found that it's quite nice, especially if you look at most of the religions, if you pinpoint certain teachings that they have, it's always...
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like if we really follow the teachings of what our religions were telling us, I think...
Like
would
Jesus,
be decent.
It's amazing what he taught, but behind him, you know, really understanding what he was saying. I love, like, Jesus is a big inspiration. And it's actually also, I think it's a big teaching on responsibility as well, because if you really had to put it like in the religious way, it would be, for example, it wasn't Jesus' fault, all the sins and mistakes people were doing, but he came and took full responsibility. It's the same if you had to put it in an entrepreneurship sense. If someone in your team at Buddy does something really bad for your brand, it's their fault, right? But at the end of the day, you've got the responsibility, and it's kind of a similar teaching, I guess. You're playing, and then you learn. I also find that in religion is there isn't really faults. It's you learn through faults. Especially, it's a big misconception also in business. We get taught that way, especially in school. If you make a fault, that's wrong. But there's no such thing.
Yeah.
Making mistakes is necessary because you learn from it. Making the same mistakes over and over, you could see that as wrong. But you'll only do them as long as you need to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that formed the big part of my spiritual sort of essence is, what are the stories that I'm repeating? So what are the mistakes I'm making that I'm not learning from? So I'm always learning. And I think through always learning, you're growing always. And I think that's also a big part in business is you need to grow through the mistakes that you make, but you need to be aware. You really need to understand your business and yourself and your structure to be aware of the things that you're doing wrong. And a lot of people don't like that. They don't like looking at themselves and finding faults or mistakes, which aren't really faults or mistakes. It's just like, I could have been kinder to this person or to myself. Often it's like, if you are a kind person, by default, you will be kind to yourself. If you are not a kind person, by default, you will not be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And in business, it's kind of the same thing, is find out, what did they say the other day? I read again, it was very interesting, is if you want to be good at something, teach it. Then you will be good at it. If you want to start a business, teach how to start a business. Because then you'll figure out, if you want to. So it's being a teacher. And I think that's what Jesus was. He was a teacher. And because he was a teacher, he was living, he was true to his teaching. He wasn't just talking, he was actually living it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that. When you were speaking, I was also just thinking of something just now. Like, I was appreciating the fact that I just realized it's taken me over a year to finally get this meeting going with you.
And I even almost canceled. I'm sorry again.
Yeah, so I'm just grateful for that.
You made an effort to get me here. Well done. You said, dude, you're coming. I'll make time for you. So well done.
I've been pushing so hard.
Yeah.
And thank you. Already I can tell it's going to be a good one. So I want to hear now, let's go a little bit back to your younger self.
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of young people as well that are trying to get into entrepreneurship. Firstly, what do you think is missing in Namibia? I think a lot of things we're doing well as well, but what do you think is mainly missing for younger entrepreneurs?
The support network, right? It's even for us when we started Buddy. If you started Buddy in America, we would be millionaires the next day, and the product wouldn't have even been finished, right?
Yeah.
Because you have so many businesses and startups that have the support through funding or funding initiatives, which they've started now in Namibia, GIZ and all these initiatives that have started. I think sometimes with the wrong perspective, but they're happening. I think but that's still missing, a support structure for young entrepreneurs. And that support structure needs to follow through in our economy. It needs to be at the banks, There needs to be a space in a bank where, as an entrepreneur, there's a counter or person that you can phone as a startup. Say, listen, I've got a startup. I need to speak to you. And he has an initiative how they can loan money to startups. But we don't even have such a thing. Even if you want to loan money from a bank today, it's very difficult because they don't just give you money. They always want security. But as a young person, you typically don't have security. And often your parents, you don't want to take your parents' security and stuff.
Of course.
So, and there's a lot of young men and women, of course, that have incredible ideas. But where do they voice them?
Yeah.
So that's the other big thing, is who's listening. And I think that's started, talent scouting, etc., or people that are seeing, wow, if we have this money and we put it into smaller businesses, we can make money again. So there's a business actually formed around supporting smaller businesses, helping them grow or build a business, because they will then pay them back with interest. So one business thrives off all the smaller business, but it hasn't taken off here yet. So
but do you think a lot of the ideas that are also going to come are usually going to be people that are just looking for a handout as well, and
often,
often, I think more often than not. But obviously, there's also that one idea that always comes, and I think, how would you say, what are some characteristics you would be looking for if you had to invest in someone?
The best advice I received, and I never understood it till later in life, and that's important, is solve for the problem. The bigger the problem you solve for, the better your business, the more you can charge.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but it's really that. Is your business or your idea or your concept solving a problem? So you'll see the best businesses that stand have typically come from somebody solving a problem,
Yeah.
having had a problem,
Yeah.
and then solving for that problem, thinking, hey, this is a cool business, let's start. Most of them, right? A lot of businesses are started, I told you earlier when the cameras were still off, for the wrong reasons, which means I just want to make money. I just want to make a quick buck. So he's not really solving a problem, or he's taking a business that he saw online that works in America but isn't working here because the culture is different. You know, people think differently, people behave differently in different scenarios. So I think the most important type of advice is find the problem that you want to solve for, and then see, does that problem make me feel happy? Because another big mistake a lot of young entrepreneurs do is they just start something, but they don't look at if it makes them happy. You might have a skill of doing something, but it might still not make you happy. That doesn't mean you must do it, you know? So they started for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, that's quite a nice way to look at it, because if I really think about it, most times, like, the reason, being an entrepreneur myself, the reason why I would start a business is not the reason why people would want to buy from my business, right? So it's like, maybe I want to make an extra dollar, or I want to live a nicer life.
Yeah.
They don't care about that at all.
No.
But if I come and say, look, here's my business. With my business, now your groceries come to the door, or now you don't need to carry your wallet around everywhere. Then it's more like, okay, fine, let me give you my ear. So I think that's something definitely that would.
And
be
if you
beneficial.
can't explain the business to somebody in just 2 words, like I said to you, even this I learned really late with Buddy, is what are the 2 words that describe Buddy? Because I would start speaking to you, and I could speak for an hour, and the guy would be like, I still don't get you, dude. What is Buddy? I'm like, it does this. It's like too much. But when you say rewarding transactions, it's the core of it. It rewards the transactions that happen through it. You know? So figure out those 2 words as well when you're describing your business, and then explain it to mom or dad or friend. And if he understands it, you know it's a good business.
I think I would say, for me in marketing right now, I would say the 2 words are effective marketing. Maybe.
That's a good word.
Because I think with marketing, a lot of the times, you know, in the new age of social media, it's like always like, okay, posting, let's post. But then posting is not marketing. So at the end of the day, you still want results, right? It's like, how do you do it effectively? How do you bring the impact about? And
Brilliant.
So I think
I even like the word adding new or modern or new age, because that even niches effective marketing into that space that you're working on. Because you're not just doing marketing, you're not doing radio marketing, you're not doing, you're doing a lot of social marketing, right? Or digital marketing. So then bring that in, because new or modern also means that you stay with the trends, you know, not just say digital, because digital is one part of many in the space. So good.
You started in marketing yourself, right? With the InTouch and everything. So tell me, in that sense, what do I really want to know here? Okay, because I also want some kind of basically some advice for myself. I'm being selfish now.
That's good.
But you working in, was it mainly digital marketing?
Yeah,
basically. How did you come up with these insane ideas? Because normally we are doing social media, right? But now you ended up doing things like the payment systems, the airtime and stuff, because that itself is also a form of like marketing, because it taps into the customer experience of brands like MTC, Bank Windhoek, and so forth. So how do you come up with all these creative ideas and so forth? How do you realize things that people are looking for? Is it a secret gift?
I think underneath everything, underneath the hood, sits an inventor. Right? I love inventing stuff. So again, building stuff from scratch. And when I say innovating, and innovation doesn't mean you need to go all out and find this idea that's never been done. You just need to change some small thing. Like Uber was created out of people not wanting to phone anymore, still using a phone, right? So before that, people would phone taxis, and they still use the phone, but they changed one aspect, that you don't phone anymore, that you just type on the phone. So changing one small thing, this whole new business evolution happened, or took over the old business. So for me, it also was, I always say, let yourself be led. A lot of things just also coincidentally sort of came along my path. So the vending machines and the queuing systems, I built on request by MTC. The business MTC, I actually got the MTC tender. That was an interesting thing. I worked for Coke many years, and I loved it. I was sales manager. It was a comfortable, easy job. But they sent me onto a course which really helped change how I think. And on that course, I had to build something. So you had either have to build something that promotes sales, or you have to build something that saves costs. So I built something that promotes sales, which was like a little TV screen in a retail shop. That when you buy a Coke and it scans, ding, the screen runs the spin and win. So there it goes, and then you win a Coke or you win a T-shirt or whatever. I came back and I had to build the thing. And I was not a techie. I didn't understand tech, nothing. So then I found somebody that could build this thing, and I kind of hired him to build this thing. And after we've built this thing successfully, he's like, what do we do next? And then we applied for a tender. And by chance, I started InTouch because it wasn't even a planned thing, but it was part of my destiny, because at one fork, there was like this massive opportunity for myself to get a promotion, because they had offered me a promotion at Coke to go to China, which was the promotion. But at the same time, we just won that
the tender.
And I was like, which side? And I chose to be an entrepreneur. I chose to work for myself. And I was, for the first year, I was like, I came running back to Coke. I said, don't you want to employ me again? Because there was no money and it was struggle. And they said, no, when you leave, you can't come back. Which again was a blessing, because it forced me, to stay true on my path. And that's where we ended up with InTouch. But I've always loved so the UI and the UX concept is very close to me. So I love building things and making them look good. So bringing a brand or product to life. And a lot of that is found in my businesses.
Lovely. Do you make time to really think about your ideas sometimes?
I'm always thinking. I think, so I'm what you call a deep thinker. So I can really, for me, it's second nature. I always think about things. Right? And that's why I love also spirituality, and I love because it's deep thinking. It's also living from a space of really understanding yourself and the products. And so in my head, I can see the whole flows. So a lot of it is visual. I can see everything coming together without needing to write it down or whatever. So
nice.
I think that obviously is a gift.
Would you say you spend more time now doing more strategy than tactical things? Because, I mean, you've passed a lot of managerial positions where you had to start from scratch, and now basically you're what people would call the chef.
The chief. No, I don't. I like being actively involved still. The nice thing is I don't need to be. So I can just step away, or like in December we go away for 6 weeks to Thailand, whatever. I can do that because I've got the right team that's working for me, or with me, I like to call it, not for me. And I still like to be what I call I also learned that later is, I'm not a manager, you are a leader. So find the leadership qualities. Don't just manage, because managing is easy, but being a leader is difficult. But a leader starts first with leading yourself. Because if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others, right? And so I think an entrepreneur needs to have strong qualities of leadership, even if it's just him. If he has those qualities, he will be leading himself very well. But if he doesn't have those qualities, he'll just be a manager and typically won't be such a successful entrepreneur, in my opinion.
What would you say a leader does different than a manager?
He inspires and he leads with, like I said, love, like Jesus. It was always the answers, the way he talked, he spoke, always came from a space of kindness, never came from a fear. So he would not judge, he would not threaten with fear. And a lot of managers would manage through fear-based tactics, warnings and controlling. So a manager or a leader inspires the person that's working with him to typically even do his job better than himself, and not be afraid that it might take over my job, right? So bring the best out in you. And if I keep telling you what to do, I'm not being a leader. I'm just telling you what to do. And typically managers do that. They just tell you what they would want you to do. But the way you do it and the way I do it is completely different. You might even do it better than me. But you need to be inspired first to understand what I'm wanting from you, and then you do it the way you want it.
Yeah, interesting. It's interesting that you use the word inspire, because I actually have a term that I came up with for leadership when I was sitting and thinking. I call it EIR. EIER. EIR or EIR.
Yeah.
Are you German as well?
Yeah, EIR.
Okay, EIR.
Yeah.
So the reason why I say EIR, it's the way I see it, leadership, the first thing is you need to envision.
Yeah.
See that vision, see it in a bigger way than other people would see. And then the next step to that would be to inspire.
Yes.
Make sure, because it lasts longer than motivation, right?
Yes.
And the
motivation is short-lived.
Yeah, true. And then after you inspire, you enable. So it's getting the people the resources for them to do what you envisioned and what you inspired them to do. You get out of the way and then repeat.
Or you change the word, that's good, the repeat, or empower.
Empower.
Because then you don't need to repeat again.
Yeah.
Because if you've empowered somebody, he can do it himself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he's got the tools.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Most people, but the world didn't want that of us. Like many years back, the normal sort of Western world didn't really want entrepreneurs. They wanted factory workers. That's why you went to school. That's why they have the hierarchy of there's a manager and a chief and But that's changing completely.
Yeah.
And they've taken away the empowered part.
Yeah.
So if people just realize how empowered they are, if they just believe in themselves, they can do anything. And that word I love a lot. Because if you empower, it's not just inspire somebody, but you actually empower them with the right tools. And the tools are just here, right? You need nothing else. Then that guy is unstoppable.
Nice, lovely. Now we've got our AIR in collaboration with Wilko.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like AIR.
Envision, inspire, empower. Yeah, that's a lovely way to look at it,
Power
isn't it?
better. I like it more. It resonates better.
Yeah, we're going to write a book about it. Thank you.
AIR.
Yeah, AIR. Perfect. And that's the reason why I keep saying AIR. Actually, it reminds it's so easy to remember. So every time, I mean, I'm pretty young myself. I'm going to have to do a lot of really repeating this to myself, really trying to do it in my own life as well. But I think it's a decent way to look at it, to put it in that terms: envision, inspire, empower.
And what you're doing is by sharing the stories we're telling, you're empowering other people. Because I always say is, if somebody listens to this and is just a little bit inspired or can just see that he can do it, you've enabled that. You've empowered him with the tools, with this product. You've taken your time, your day, and shared the story, or made sure the story is shared, and so you've empowered him with that tool. So you're doing a great thing.
Thank you.
Also you're doing really, and that's also the thing about business is make sure it's doing good. Then you will always be supported. Make sure you are doing good, because the new philosophy of life isn't win-lose. In the old days, it would be win-lose. One person would always lose. This modern way of doing anything, any type of transaction must always be win-win, win-win-win. So 1 + 1 is 11, not 2. So create that.
1 + 1 11.
That's how you look at it, right?
Of course. So what are some things from your journey that you've learned that do you have any regrets in your life?
No.
You have no regrets. Okay, that's good to hear. But do you have key lessons that you would say, if I were to pass these on to do you have any sons?
Yeah.
You have daughters as well?
Yeah, one daughter,
one son. So if you had to pass on these lessons to your children, if they ever want to become entrepreneurs, what are some key lessons that you would say these principles will guide you pretty well?
I think they hear it from me every day. So I don't speak to them about business. I think everybody finds his own journey. I think we get too involved with trying to manage our kids or our people. People will find their own way, right? Leave it to the divine, leave it to God. He will guide you. And I just think that's what I do for my kids, is I do teach them, but I teach them about understanding themselves, because the better you understand yourself, the better you will be at whatever you do. Because not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, not everybody wants to be a business person, right? I always find it frustrating. Like, I'm a lot of times in conversations, and nobody wants to speak about business, and that's all I want to speak about. I don't want to speak about anything else. But I know it. Like, my wife hates it. She doesn't like business, and I had to make peace with it. And that I've got so many ideas and things. And I had one friend, my late colleague that passed on. me and him were like, it would get too much. Like everybody would leave and it would just be me and him, like business.
Crazy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's for me, it's just behaving.
Yeah.
So being the role model, right?
Yeah.
Because not just am I the role model for them, I'm the role model for myself. And I think they're picking up on that thing. It's like a small thing that I learned. Did you know I cannot make you do it? I cannot make you feel anyway, right? A lot of people they would say, Wilko, you made me feel sad or angry or this. I say, wow. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, why are you not sad? I'm making you sad. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm making you sad. No, but what you said. I said, no, you choose how you feel. The power always sits with you. So it doesn't matter what situation you are in or what somebody says to you, you are choosing that. And so my kids are even telling me that story. Sometimes I get angry and even I catch myself saying, this guy made me. Then they're like, no, Dad, nobody can make you feel anyway. You choose how you feel, right? So these types of lessons that I only learned very late in my life through a lot of books and very good friends, those are the things I would rather bestow on my kids, and entrepreneurs.
It's like you're almost saying no one can make you insecure about the things you aren't already insecure about. Yeah.
So sort out the inside first. So what people don't do, which is what I'm doing with that 90-day thing at one time, is they're not bringing the aspect of self into business.
Okay.
They've always seen them as separate. Spirituality and business. It's one, right? If you work on the one, the other will thrive. And it's bringing them together, saying, listen, figure out first what it is that you want. Most people haven't sat with that question. What is it that you want? And they don't know that I want money. Okay, if you have money, what does it give you? So you have to go 7 or 8 layers deep. Then you'll know what it will give me a car or this or that. But typically you'll find behind the money is freedom. They want freedom, financial freedom. Oh, so you want time? Yeah. So if you didn't have to do anything and just had the money, would you still do that? No. It's like, okay, so rather go and do something. And that's the other $1 million question is do the work as if you already have the money. And if it still makes you happy in your mind, right, when you're figuring out what you want to be as an entrepreneur, then you've chosen the right thing for you. But if you're only doing it for the money, it's often short-lived. So, and that's why I said, you have to figure out yourself first before you do anything, because a business is only an extension of you. That's I think the core.
That's the way you see it. It's an extension of what you are doing as a person and all that.
Yeah, it's an extension of your being. Your business is always an extension of yourself.
Do you also sometimes feel that your dreams have to be bigger because of the involvement, the capacity you have to involve other people? I mean, in the sense of like, personally, right? I feel that sometimes I want to dream very big because, and I know that if I have very big dreams, when my dreams do come to life, they're also able to cater for a lot of other people. Do you also feel that as well?
No, definitely. And I think a thing people mistake also, it's like through conditioning. We call it conditioned behavior. Is they feel judged, they feel bad about being wealthy. Right? So there was a time that I even felt bad about having a big car and these things. And a lot of people do feel that. But no, feel good about having it. Feel good about having a lot of money. Because if somebody sees you having a lot of money, that inspires them. So never feel bad about it. So I think it's the same thing with dreams is dream massively big. Some people feel they're afraid of dreaming big because they're scared they fail or whatever. I think you must dream the bigger the better, right? Dream it. Because that's where, right? Everything starts first as a dream, as an image in your head. Before anything was ever done or built or brought to life, it was in somebody's head first.
But now, separating dreams from actions, because I think it's very easy to be in this loop of dreams and always thinking, I have these big dreams, I want to do all these things, and then you sometimes forget to actually do the actions. I think a lot of us young people are stuck in that, when you meet someone who was like, I want to have a Mercedes G-Wagon by the time I'm 30 and I'm going to have a big house. They say it with such determination, which is great to have, right? But on the other hand as well, of these dreams, they're actions as well. well. It's like, what are you doing to fulfill that? And what I like to do nowadays is look at myself more through actions. It's like, what is the biggest action I want to achieve?
Brilliant.
I don't know what you think about that. I want to hear from your side as well, because these everyone has dreams. Almost everyone has dreams. Or some people can't see that far, but I would like to think most people have dreams, and I think also most people have the capacity to achieve their dreams.
Everybody has.
I think so as well. But I think not necessarily do we all have the capability for our actions. I mean, I think maybe sometimes it's just some hurdles we put for ourselves. But yeah, how do you see that? I think it's really important to judge yourself through your actions as well as a person. Do you do something like that? And how are you able to maintain that discipline as well to fulfill your actions? Because I think also when you do what you say all the time, people see that, then they start to believe in you. I also have like these memos on my screensaver. It's like, it says, do what you say always. And then over time, people will see it, and then they'll start to believe in you too. And you will believe in yourself too,
That's
because you always show up for
you
yourself.
mustn't worry about them believing in you. You must believe in you.
Okay.
I mean, that's I call it excusitis.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that sickness.
Excusitis.
Excusitis. And I have quite a few people that have that. So the challenge again is making excuses and not taking ownership. Right? I've always, in my old days, if the In Touch guys are listening, they've heard that word so much. It's just take ownership.
Yeah.
And in that sits that you need to be honest with yourself, honest enough to say, because some people will label the situation they're in, the marriage, or the economy, or not having wealthy parents, or not having the opportunity, and all of that stuff. Right? They'll have a list of why they can't do. Right? But it starts by just doing a little bit at a time, a little bit daily, right? And again, asking, sort of having a vision, which is what your dream is, but then mapping that vision and then doing a little bit every day. And a lot of little small steps actually get you far bigger than one or two or three big steps. And I think that's where also a lot of people are mistaken, is they see this big hurdle and then they're scared. Or they do one or two big steps and they say, oh my goodness, there's a lot of work. Instead of doing little bit. And so for me personally, as an example, is I don't know, I now run about 5Ks every day. About 10 years ago, I would run 10 kilometers every day.
Oh, shit.
But it took me a long time to get there. But every day it was cold on some days. I was like, sore, and I could make up a list of excuses, but I said, okay, I will at least just go out and I will just run, 20 meters and I will come back. And then at that 20-meter point, I was like, I'm out here already. Let's just keep going. But some days I just ran 20 meters and I came back, right? But I went out. And I got myself out of bed into that sort of, even now I'm doing this cold shower thing from Wim Hof. I don't know if you know Wim.
Yeah, Wim Hof, the old guy.
Yeah, the old guy. No, but the cold shower, you know how difficult that is.
He recently ran a marathon in the Namibian desert here.
Did he?
He did.
Wow, not just cold heat as well. I didn't know.
Yeah, they were testing how doing breath work in the cold actually also transpires to how you perform in the heat. He came to Namibia in the desert, ran a marathon shirtless. In this heat wave, it's like
that
summer.
Guy. No, and it shows you like what, and if he can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
And it's breath work,
Yeah.
So wow, no, exactly. And so just start and do it. And every day, they say after 3 consecutive weeks, it's a habit.
Yeah.
Form positive habits, strong habits that align to your vision. A lot of people don't write the vision down. Again, with business, you asked me earlier, I think what a mistake people also do is they have the dream, they have the idea, but what's the next step? Is bring it on paper so we can see it. Once it's on paper, write it. Like even writing your slogan or your vision, your values, it's important. It's not just for the bank or for somebody, it's for you. And when you're writing it, you can really reflect on, oh, wow, this is actually not who I am. Or it helps so much, right? So that's the second step. Then take it to the bank. And then, if you reject it 10 times, who was it? Edison, 10,000 times. Yeah. The 11,000 time works, right? Yeah. Don't worry, just keep going.
Keep going, yeah, true. And so when I hear you speak now about running and everything, so that means you're probably big on business as well.
What do you mean?
I mean, in fitness as well.
I love fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time,
not as I used to be,
Yeah.
but it's part of the
yeah.
routine.
I think you used to do a lot of cycling as well. I remember you-
Squash.
Squash. You
Yeah.
played a lot of squash.
Yeah, squash.
Oh, I've never played squash. I should
is
try squash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for the heart.
And I think fitness as well has a big role to play in your
Mental.
in your mental capacity as well. Okay, that's good to know. And so now let's talk a little bit about investments.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of investing yourself? I mean, these wealth management funds and this kind of stuff, or are you just an all-in kind of guy?
Yeah.
Let me just invest in what I'm building and all that.
Typically. So I've never invested in not even crypto,
Mm-hmm.
even though I think it's great, but at the same time, I've never felt that I have that available funds to invest in something I don't understand that
Yeah.
well. Although I understand the technology behind it, I don't understand how it's reacting, right?
Yeah.
And the same was for anything like gold or minerals, whatever. But what I always did find, I understood well, and what I did invest in is property.
Property.
Property works for me, and so that's my kind of investment. But it's invested in me. So I think somebody told this to me once, but I always thought that, and it's a belief system. So I must also challenge that. But it's my belief system that why must I give somebody money that will take my money and make me money from it? Why is he not using his own money to make money? You know what I'm saying? So I always felt like me giving money to somebody, will he really make me money with my own money? Let me rather take my money and try and make my own money with it, So that's why I've never believed in these investment funds or hedges or whatever.
I mean, it does make sense what you're saying. It's making me think now. Maybe I should pull my money back.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I think for a lot of people without ideas, it can be very useful as well. I mean, because if you've got your $20 million saved up, you get your 6% return. That's a $600,000 a year.
But then you're actually losing. Did you know? Because your inflation is higher than
Of
that.
course, yeah.
You're
True.
losing. And
Yeah.
$20 million, if you put $20 million in a property, you've got your property
true.
gaining, right? You've got your capital gain of your property because your property grows in value. Money in the bank doesn't grow in value other than the ROI that comes in. So that's why I've always said money in the bank is actually going backwards.
Yeah.
Rather invest in a business or invest in property.
Yeah. It makes sense because currently the inflation rate is at about between 4 and 5%.
Yeah.
So I'd say if you have an investment that's not taking you anywhere from 6-7%
Exactly.
on your return, at the very least, then
least,
you're just wasting your money because
Exactly.
you're gonna have this return after a few years, and then, but it's worth nothing.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
That's exactly it. And what if you took out of the 20 million, 2 million and started a business, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, for some people, it's not always that simple. For me, that was always the answer. But
Yeah.
rather than the money being in the bank, rather use it for something. But each to his own.
If you had to put money aside for your living expenses, right? Because I have this I don't know, not really a theory, but I feel more comfortable as an entrepreneur, right? It's always nice to have some savings, for the next 6 months to a year of your life or whatever it is. At this point, you probably have enough months of your year of your life covered. So, but I feel like it also allows you to be an entrepreneur in a sense when you're not worrying too much about survival. What do you think about that?
Not like my latest project, the waterfront that I told you about.
Yeah.
All my savings, all my money is in there, So I've taken a big step and all the money is flown into that project. So the good thing about it is within itself, that land has its value. It doesn't really lose. But we are putting it all out there again. So as an entrepreneur, I think you're often in a space where you are extending yourself, overextending yourself. So not keeping money anywhere. It's always in some business. If you really from my perspective, an entrepreneur by heart and spirit, typically is always invested in some kind of business. And a business is always demanding money, especially when it's a startup. I think now I'm coming to the age, this year 40 to 50s, is now you want to take some of that money and make sure it's sitting somewhere.
For your children, for your family.
They must make their own money.
Go make your own plan.
But it's now like, that's why I said the property now is a good thing because that's working. And if one day I want to sell the property, I can sell it and then take that money and retire or or just leave the property and let it work for me. The cool thing about it is if I'm old, I don't need to work hard at the property providing me money, you know.
Do you think you're ever going to sell stocks of Buddy Industries?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll be first in
I
line.
think so.
Please, the day before you go on the market, please call me. Like Ignatious, we're there.
Yeah, I will let you know.
Are you comfortable talking a little bit about Perfect Stay and how other people can also make money through Perfect Stay?
Yeah. So Perfect Stay is Perfect Stay Holiday Rentals. It's we specialize in short-term holiday rentals. So what we started this company in COVID, and it's a very cool company. We manage about 85 holiday homes in Swakopmund, not our own. So anybody that has a holiday home in Swakopmund, has a home in Swakopmund and wants to make money, contact us. Yeah. We typically take that home, convert it into a perfect stay, you know, and list it online with Airbnb, Booking.com, our own website, etc. But with Perfect Stay, you have all the little extras. You have the little chocolates, branded chocolates on the bed, the branded water, the interactive TV system with 1,000+ channels. Yeah. So you as a guest that is staying in any one of the Perfect Stay units really feel like you're staying in a 5-star hotel, but you're actually staying in somebody's home. Yeah. But that home offers you so much more value than a hotel would, because it's bigger, better location, etc. Yeah. So Perfect Stay is very close to my heart. I've spent the last year growing the business. That's what I love doing, investing a lot in tech and everything. It's kept me very busy.
Who is your highest earning, or how much is your highest earning homeowner earning at this point?
Like I told you earlier, 90K a month.
Yeah, that's the lady you told me about.
Yeah, in the pocket. That's incredible. So
how long have you guys had this business now?
5 years now.
5 years, and that's actually quite.
Four years in, but we had 5 properties before we started Perfect Stay as the brand, but 4 years since COVID. Yeah.
What's the average salary in Namibia?
I don't know.
I think it's 15,000 a month.
Okay.
So she's making 6 times the average salary in Namibia. Yeah, that's actually quite interesting to hear. So that's also quite a lot of opportunity for a lot of people here. I'm gonna make a short video and be like how you can earn 90,000 a month in Namibia.
Go to Perfect Stay.
Go to Perfect Stay. Okay, and the idea behind this, so you want to be able to support a lot of homeowners that are not, they're not able to.
So typically the homeowner sits with a property in Swakopmund. It's costing him money. Yeah. He's paying levies, he's paying water and lights. He only visits it once or twice or 3 times a year. Now that property is making him money. And I mean, you know, anything, even if it's just paying for your water and lights and your bond, you're still making money because you're not having to pay it yourself. You see the win-win in that. So the guy that has the property is a win. Yeah. Even if he's not making great money, he's typically covering costs, which is great. He can come at any time through the Perfect Stay app, book his own place, stay there just like before. But the cool thing is we come and clean for him and check him in. And
crazy.
And then he leaves again. And we rent it out.
So all your homeowners are covering costs at this point?
Yeah.
That's nice, because I was going to ask that. I wasn't comfortable asking that because I was like, what if I...
It's always the thing, like when a new property comes on board, I call it popping. It takes some time. Yeah. Some pop instantly. Yeah. Some take, the longest property that's popped with us is taking about 9 months. Yeah. When it pops, it's no keeping it back. Then it just runs. Yeah. But sometimes in that beginning phase, you're not even covering costs yet. So let's also be realistic. But those are very, very few. The most is like instantly or within the first 3 months it pops. And with tourism just doing this in Namibia, especially at the coast, Swakopmund, I mean, everybody's going there. Locals, business people, foreigners,
Do you want to stick to Namibia only? I mean, to Swakop only?
I've created a franchise.
Franchise?
Yeah, so it was my first idea also is to franchise it.
The Perfect Stay, okay. Yeah.
So one can actually open a Perfect Stay in Windhoek. One can open it we want to branch out to South Africa. Yeah. We're going into Henties now. We actually have somebody in Windhoek now who wants to start up. But, you know, it's, so that's part of it. And you get the tech, the brand, the support, all of that.
Interesting. What's the current buy-in?
250.
250 million?
No, 250,000.
Okay. I was like, Wilko, I'm going to have to do a few more years.
250,000. Yeah. But the cool thing is with just 5 properties, where I've got it on my website, I think you yourself as a as the business owner, after you've paid the cleaners and everything, at a very low occupancy, I think of 40% or something, you can earn almost 30 grand in your pocket.
Yeah.
And then you only have 5 properties.
Yeah.
That's 30 grand. 10 months, your business is paid off.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be your own properties.
No.
So,
No, you don't. You typically don't have your own properties in the beginning.
You pay $250 for the software and everything.
No, for the license, which means
For the
you're allowed
license?
to have the brand.
Yeah.
Which obviously includes we as the company that support you.
Yeah.
We give you the software, we show you how it's done, but in the background we're there.
And then I operate basically in support with you guys.
Yes, you just run it here. We support you.
Okay, so then I have to perhaps maybe reach out to a friend who's got a property that they're not using. I get my 10 people and say, look, let's start this thing, Perfect Stay. And then marketing wise, how does that work?
We market it online.
You do the marketing and everything.
We collect the money. We do the bookings. You just literally have to manage the cleaners. So the property needs to be clean and needs to look a certain way. We train you. Sometimes guests, you need to receive the guests. They want to be received, checked in or checked out. Most of them these days like keyless. So it's a very easy business.
That's nice. I hope it's not just because I'm feeling inspired now, but I can think, for example, for a friend of mine who's got 2 pieces of properties or he's got one, he's getting a second one. It's like lofts he invented. That would be something for him because he's always having the cleaner, and it's like the most nagging thing about this Airbnb business is that you always have to be like there 24/7, but when the people come in, and this story.
A lot of people don't like that.
Yeah.
That's why they use Perfect Stay.
Yeah, that could work for them. And then of course also like that friend that has a beach house and that they only go to like once or twice every year.
Exactly.
And you can just say, look, man, you guys have a beautiful house, a selling spot.
Make some money.
Yeah. Beach
Perfect
houses.
Stay, yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly.
No, lovely. I think that's going to be a very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see more of the growth because I think now you've just covered the first part of a few years. That's always the toughest part. And where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years in general?
So Waterfront is the big next step. Is we finishing our development there, service departments.
Are you building apartments in the waterfront?
Yeah. So 57 service departments on the waterfront in Swakopmund. Yeah.
Is that the project you told me about when we met last time?
Yeah. That's my big project now.
That's crazy.
So we're developing for 2 years. So we're starting early next year.
Yeah.
And that's going to keep me busy for long.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
How much did it cost you guys to buy the land there?
Quite a lot, almost 20 bar.
20 million for beach land.
Just for beach property, yeah.
So you haven't even put a brick yet. They're like,
the whole project development cost is $156 million.
156 million.
Yeah.
57 units.
57 units. With a bottom floor, there's restaurants, there's a gym, there's spa, there's conferencing, there's a venue for weddings. So it's a massive project. Yeah.
That's great. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. When do you think it will be ready?
26.
2026.
Yeah, 2026.
I think by that time.
Sorry, 2027. We're starting 2025, 2027.
I think by that time I'll be able to afford a few night stays.
Yeah.
So definitely I'd love to see. No, it's always inspiring to hear more entrepreneuring endeavors happening because that's one nice thing about working in marketing. I'm sure you had that as well when you worked with InTouch. You hear about all these random businesses that people are doing.
Yeah. You get connected to them.
Yeah, true. The other day I found out people are selling worms to other countries and all that kind of stuff.
Can you believe it?
And but we want to get closer to the end. I know you're a busy guy. You have to travel as well still today.
Get back home.
So yes, do you believe in work-life balance?
Yes.
Really?
I try.
I thought you were going to say, I watched your other podcast with Manny. You said no.
No, I believe in it.
Yeah.
If I practice it. So I do, no, I think it's a, so I'm very strict with myself that after a certain hour in the evening, I don't work because otherwise I don't sleep. And if I don't sleep, then I'm not effective the next day.
Of course.
And I've also realized with my family now, my kids only have me, and I've only got this short period with them. I want to spend time with them, you know? So I do make time more now for them than I ever have. But it's still too little. That's why I'm lucky enough to have my wife that can spend more time with them. So it is very important, I think.
No, lovely. That's good. What keeps you motivated, driven, especially during tough times?
I don't believe the word motivation is the right. So motivation is like I said, short-lived. It's to just see this blessing in it. Look for the blessing, look for the learning, look for the growth opportunity.
Yeah.
Then, it shifts.
Yeah.
That's what kind of keeps me always moving, because if you see the blessing or the opportunity in the challenge or the problem, then it's not a problem anymore. It changes. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. What's your long-term vision for your businesses and your legacy that you want to leave behind?
So the legacy thing I'm working on, but I want to definitely teach. I think I want to go into that, whichever way I haven't figured out yet. That's like food for my soul. I think the waterfront is going to be my retirement. I love
Really?
working with people, and chilling. I think, buddy, I'm moving really more into a director's position versus CEO. So not as actively involved, because we're bringing other parties and partners in, which is interesting. But I'll always want to be part of the innovation, the architecture. I love that. But I don't want to do the dailies there anymore.
Of course. You've passed that phase.
Past that.
Yeah. Are there any industries or ventures you think more people should explore?
Definitely the tech.
The tech, okay.
Just try. There's so much things to do in tech. So many opportunities, so many apps or books or podcasts. So there's such a world of business lying there if you understand or just look towards technology. And it makes it. What I always loved about it is, if I sell this bottle of water, I earn $3. But I have to buy the next bottle of water for $2 and then sell it again and buy it and sell it. If I've built this app and I sell it for $3, or I sell a service of the app for $3, I'm not paying another app. It's there. So it's making more money. So yes, it needs to be supported and hosted and all of that. But you typically don't have this buy and sell. You've built something once, or you've written a book once, and then it can just make money, versus taking that money, buying stock again and selling it again, starting from scratch.
Yeah.
I always like that concept more.
Lovely. Can you ever see yourself investing in other people's businesses in the near future now that you're retiring, especially for young entrepreneurs?
Definitely.
Yeah. I think like a little hub of entrepreneurship hub or something like that. I can see you doing that.
I love that.
Yeah, I'd love to help out with that.
Yeah,
definitely.
cool.
And the last two questions. What was I going to ask you? What good things do you think we're currently doing in the Namibian economy, African entrepreneurs as well? What are some good things you've seen in the last few months or years that you think we're doing very well?
I think our government is extremely great, really. I think if you look at our government and the stability they've carried over all these years since we've been independent, especially in my opinion, SWAPO regime, I really think they are doing a great job, although there's a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
But if you compare that against any other currently African country, look at how we are seen, and look at all the investments that are flogging into this country. Simply one of the big reasons are because we've got such a stable and strict regime here. Things work. Our roads work. Our infrastructure works, right? So I think as Namibians, the government is definitely, I say one can always do better, but they're doing a great job. We are attracting overseas investors now with the oil that's being found. I don't think that's all that great, because where's that money going? Is it going to China, or is it going to... But anyway, it's bringing the right eyes to Namibia. So I think it's opening I think Namibia is it's the new Switzerland of Africa, is what they said.
Yeah.
So there's going to be so much influx of people, money, investments, opportunities happening here. We must just, our stability of our government must just stay. We must just keep that one aspect. Then, I think anybody in their youth now, like you, you've got such a beautiful opportunity lining up, where for us it was difficult still. I don't think it will be as difficult, in my opinion, because there will be more.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, lovely. That's good to hear coming from your side. Last question of the day. Let's say your children are watching this episode in a few years. And they have decided to become entrepreneurs, following Papa's footsteps. What would you say to them that you think is important to never forget and to hold dear?
That's beautiful. I think believe in yourself. Never stop never stop believing, never stop believing in yourself. Like that is very important. Like that is the most crucial thing I would leave with them. And I know it's sometimes difficult, and you know, but if you can figure that out for yourself, that will take you anywhere. You know, and don't let other people or situations darken that. You know, because sometimes things happen and it makes it difficult. But I think we are our own worst enemy. That's the only thing. And if we can let our own judgments, our own internal judgments go, then we can create anything. And that is a big learning that we need to go through as a human. And I hope my children, if they need to see this and hear this, that, and I know they sometimes, just like me, I also went in my younger days, went through times where it was difficult, you know, believing in yourself. And there is sometimes days where you doubt yourself, but don't, you know, like as easy as that. Don't listen to that part, you know, just say, no, we're doing this.
So no matter what you do, always believe in yourself.
Always believe in yourself. You know, that's the only thing holding you back, if at all, if something is holding you back. Beautiful.
Yeah, perfect, Wilko.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this
Thank
episode.
you, buddy.
It's been a good one.
It's been a great one.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.